What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Faith Wave Podcast. This is Season 1, Episode 2. We're joined with my friend Andrew Smithwick today, Gatorade Player of the Year. He's also a missionary. He has a great heart for God, and so we're excited to have you on here today, Andrew. Is there anything fun that you'd like to tell us about yourself?
Man, off the cuff, something fun. I will say this happened like the other day. So I was late to a wedding, right? And I was like in a mad dash to get there. So I thought I had parked, since there's two parking spots at ORU.
Yeah.
I thought I had parked over here in the upper lot, and because that's what I usually do. I go over there in my full suit and everything, and it's not there, and I'm like, oh, nah. So then I realized, like, it's all the way on the other side with the Maybe Center, and I'm like, bro,
So you
all my training for running is gone.
That's
just
crazy.
led up to this moment, so I'm sprinting. It's like Tom Cruise just sprinting across in like the J's and the full suit, and then there's like people like literally having a picnic out, like these girls in the grass, and there was just sunset, and I was just like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And that's not even like the best part. Like I get in the car and I still gotta like pull on my tie and stuff.
Yeah.
So I get on the highway, and dude, I'm going like numbers that I dare not utter for legal reasons. I invoked the fifth.
That's fair.
I was like weaving through traffic, and this is like the most impressive thing ever. Like this will go down in dad lore. I put my knees on the steering wheel, and I was able to put on my tie while going on the highway. It was absolutely bonkers, but made it there. Few minutes to spare. Thank God, because if I was the best man.
Oh, that wouldn't have been good.
Yeah.
That's awesome, though. I find it impressive how you drive with your knees. I used to have a friend. Whenever I was like 16, 15, I still didn't know how to drive. I had a friend drive me around all the time. Jordan, I better not be saying this, but sometimes he would drive with his knees, on special occasions. He would drive with his knees.
Shot.
I'm like, bro, how do you do that? That's insane. But yeah, doing that and putting on a tie, that's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
That is interesting. And all your running came into play, so it was a middle of a movie scene while you were with your suit and tie. That's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
So we do have a bunch of people on here, I'm assuming, that probably don't know much about you. So tell us a little bit about what you do and kind of why you do that, like your work, your background, and why you do what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up Christian home. My parents, missionaries for all their life. My dad founded the ministry in the 90s. I want to say like 97 or something like that. It used to be called JSMI, John Smithwick Ministries International. Now it's Global Ventures. Mm-hmm. And after he married my mom, they started doing the mission like full time, all preaching the gospel all over the world. So I just got swept up into doing that from a young age. I think I was like 7. First mission trip was to Nicaragua. Wow. And it really like gripped my heart. And I'm like, wow, I see the need for people to know Jesus. Yeah. And it's my job to make him known. And from a young age, I just saw miracles, signs, and wonders, and I was immediately hooked. And then fast forward, when I was 12 years old, in my heart, I knew I got confirmation that I was supposed to do this, not just following my father's footsteps, like carrying on a business type deal, where it was just like so ingrained in me, I need to do this. So I feel called to preaching the gospel all around the world. Awesome. And it's a pleasure.
That's awesome, dude. So you said your father, he actually started this mission kind of deal that you guys have. So would you say that it was from your father that you got that passion from, or would you say you just kind of felt called even as like a little kid? And I know you do play sports and stuff, so with that mission field, that's like pretty like legit stuff. How does that inspire you in your athletic and career?
Yeah, that's good. I would say it's definitely a combination of the two. My dad, the beliefs and values he's instilled in me from a young age. In the Word of God, I don't know exactly where it says, but it says if you raise your sons in the way of the Lord, they shall not depart from it. And I believe, like, I can attest to that because he's instilled so much in me about why people need to hear the gospel. So from a young age, I knew I was part of this, like I was fully in. And then also I believe I was riding off my parents' coattails, but then it became my own when I got older and more mature in my spirituality. So I'd say it's definitely like a dualistic effect. And how that plays into the sporting arena, you know, God has given us talents and he wants us to use them for his glory. So simply, I'm using running as a stage, a platform to give fame to the name. That's a good
awesome.
phrase I like to use. Just simply give honor to God for the ability he's given me.
Bro, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You said that raise up your kids in my name and they shall, continue that. So oftentimes I feel this is something that a lot of people see in common. I don't want to say this the wrong way, but oftentimes whenever you raise up in like a Christian household, or like with you being a PK and things of that nature, some people can rebel against that. You know what I mean? So they never have the choice to, experience things and do things that you wouldn't do if you weren't a pastor's kid. And so they're grown up to be this certain way all the time, and they're like, I never got the chance to have fun like everybody else is having. So it gives them the chance to rebel. Then they often go away from the faith and they're like, okay, I'm gonna do this and do that because I never had the chance to. How do you say that you didn't go that same route, that same rebellious route? Like, what hooked you onto actually following your father's footsteps without him actually being like, okay, this is what you have to do, you making your own decision?
Yeah, very loaded question there, but I've actually have been like thinking about that and like letting that marinate, because that's often been like a problem with like pastors' kids, where they've like grown up and they have to put their best foot forward in a sense, because their parents are the pastors. They have like a standard, a regard to uphold.
Yeah.
And they're tempted to like dabble because everyone else is doing it and it's fun. So it's very hard, to stay strong. And by no means I'm not perfect either.
Yeah.
I'm not going to shy away from the fact that I've been tempted to do that. But what has made me remain strong and steadfast in remaining pure and laser focused on the mission is just what I've tasted and what I've seen overseas. Just God's move, like notable miracles that I can't ever like put behind me or discount. I've seen so much of God's like presence and power manifested on earth that it like grips my heart so much. I want to do away with like sinful nature and like lust and things of this world, because if anything, that's just going to get me sidetracked from the mission.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say the best thing to do if you're struggling in areas of your life and you don't know how to get over that hump. I would say just stop focusing on yourself and trying to fix yourself. Go out and be selfless.
Yeah.
Give the love of Jesus to others, and it'll radically change your focus to them and not you, and you'll see that your life will be like transformed.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I've actually been to a couple of countries myself, not necessarily on a mission trip, but I also did have the pleasure of going to Mexico, going to Honduras, and not just going to like the resorts and the lavishness of it, right? You get into like the nitty gritty, you get into like the real stuff, like how they're actually living there. Like I've gone past like little girls playing with sticks and stones, and you think that's just from the books, you think that's just the YouTube videos, but it's real life. Like there's people out there who like don't even have shoes, and they're just out there enjoying their life, playing with sticks and grass and stones, and then they don't even have enough money to go buy like a little Barbie doll for themselves. Like I seen that, and my heart has hurt from that, and I'm like, I am literally truly blessed to be in this position where I am. So whenever you see that, and especially with you, I'm sure you've been to many more countries than I have, experienced a lot of that stuff and stuff that grips your heart, and you're like, wow, like I have to show them that there's more than this, like there's a life after this. So what kind of impact does that stuff have on you? And like whenever you come back, you have to do sports, you're like, okay, like this doesn't really mean as much as other things in life do. Like how do you differentiate the two?
No, yeah, definitely. I think that's good that you pointed out like how impactful it is when you go overseas, and then when you come back, how you like try and keep that mindset of like the world, because when you go overseas and you see that, you're just moved with compassion. How destitute, how like impoverished these communities and people are, and how blessed we are as Americans, the freedoms we have. We often take it for granted, but the biggest thing is when we come back, we get settled, we get back into our usual regimented routine.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard. What I would say is like force yourself to like just remind yourself of the people of the world that you're not the only one, and be always in a constant place of what can I do like to help them? What can I do like, and not focus on like my own problems of like sports, because there's bigger problems in the world. It's definitely like something you have to like be about, or else you're going to forget it. And that's happened to me. Like I've been on over 20 mission trips, and I'm always moved with compassion when I see those precious people and what they're struggling and facing. Then I come back here and I forget all about it. It's something you really have to, maybe you have to write down or put at the forefront, or just pray about it as like a constant reminder to you. So that's what I would say.
Dude, yeah, that's awesome. And I feel like in the same sense, whenever I was, in my senior year of high school, I talked about this on the pod already, but like how I realized that basketball is not really everything. And I had to realize that quick and fast, because once I was gone and out of high school, I was going to feel like, oh, or once, you're done with college sports, you're going to feel like, oh, like if that's all I'm living for, that's all I have. But like there's something greater and there's something bigger, and that's Jesus. And obviously getting your relationship God with right is the most important thing. And that's what I had to realize whenever I was in high school, so that after, I wouldn't feel that pressure of like, oh, like I lost it. So going on those mission trips and stuff, I'm sure that really helps in like seeing the way that other people live in comparison to how you live is like a 10 times, bigger of a blessing.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. I can say like, it just makes me so much more like thankful and grateful that I've been like born here, raised here in America, with just a healthy home and just provision all around, because we take, like I said, we take that so often for granted.
Yeah,
We don't realize what we have until it's gone,
exactly.
So
No, for sure.
yeah.
I think that's good. And whenever we talk about heartbreak, I'm sure you've had heartbreak in your life. Not just whenever you see other people who are struggling with worse than you are, but you can't really just like throw that heartbreak that you have in the trash, right? We're still going to deal with stuff, even with how blessed we are, we're still going to face stuff that actually hurts our heart, because we're in that situation. I'm sure there's been situations where maybe you've lost in a sport, where you've lost someone you love, lost something that you cherished greatly. Maybe even like relationships or anything of that nature. How do you have a mindset to where it's something that you say, okay, like God's going to work this for good, not just in the good times, right? But whenever it's in the bad times and you're like, man, like I just want to do bad stuff that is going to get my mind off this. Like, how do you focus on, oh, like God is good even in this time?
Mm-hmm. What I would say, there's a motto that I at least attempt to live by. It's, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And
that's good.
In that vein, I would say just having like a Job mentality. And I know there's a lot of stigma, that like a negative connotation with that book in the Bible, just because of like, oh, God struck up a deal with Satan, back alleys. But what I'm trying to get at is God is sovereign. And despite the circumstances, Job, even like he was confused, he was bewildered, he was mad. Even despite that all, he would still praise the Lord, because he is God. And above all things, he deserves it, no matter our circumstances. And if there's anything we take away from Job, it would just be that no matter like, okay, so here's the thing. The Bible says one thing, right, about our promises and blessings that God is going to give to us, and he will, because he's always faithful. Yeah. And then there's the other side, where our circumstances don't line up with the word. And it's in those moments where it's most important of what we do. There's something else, another quote that's like, we can't control our circumstances, but we can control how we respond. And that is the most important thing. Like, we can sure blame God and get our own hidey hole and just mope in our
Yeah.
despair and wallow in, grief and just make a big spectacle, a sob
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Or we can use that time, even if we don't understand, we
Mm.
know that God is going to work everything out for our good. Even if it doesn't happen immediately, we can give him praise, because what
Yes.
I've learned is that on this side of life, we can do that. We can praise him in those times where we
Dude,
don't
that's so
understand.
good.
Whereas in heaven, like that it's a gift only on this side of
Yeah.
life. Like, we're going to be praising God in heaven, but we won't have hardship,
Mm. Yeah.
In this time, it's just going to be even more of like a gift,
Yes, it's more
just a
meaningful.
sacrifice. Yes, so
For
much
sure.
more meaning.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just having a Job mentality
That's good.
of he deserves all the praise,
Mm.
and not associating like the bad things that God is disciplining, or God is, bashing me or something.
Yeah.
But, it's the devil. It's
Yeah.
just recognizing that he is Lord over those situations. So he'll see us through.
That's good. You pointed something out there that I really liked, and it was whenever you said, this on this side of earth, like right here on earth, is the only time where we get to give God that type of praise, like the sacrificial praise, where it means a little bit more. It's a little bit extra. You were probably at that, were you at Victory when Bill
Yes,
Johnson,
Bill
bro, that was
Johnson.
so good. It was
Credit
such,
where credit is due.
dude,
Yeah, that was Bill
exactly.
Johnson.
Dude, I've been having that race through my mind,
Yes.
as I go through little situations, situations happen in my life. There's things going on in my life right now. And it's like having that message just spoken over me was incredible, and it was one of the best things that I could have. He put it in such a beautiful like way, because he talked about that sacrificial praise that you can give to the Lord right now and right now only. And it talked about how there's like the gates of praise and like the pearls, and how our pearls made, and it's through irritation. And like that irritation would be equivalent to like struggle and hardship here on earth. And so those are formed only whenever you're going through irritation and you're still praising. So that's how you put your part of the of the fence, of the bridge, of the gates, is by your praise. You're aligning with God, because God is going to be good all the time.
Amen.
And he's going to be him all the time. But you, on the other hand, you get to give something that the Lord actually values through sacrificial praise, where it actually matters, where it actually costs you something to be like, okay, Lord, even though right now, like I lost someone, I lost something, my heart hurts. Like right now is a time where I can give you this and trust you, even though I don't know how it's going to work out. Like I can give you that sacrificial praise that actually means something to you.
Yeah, no, that message was so powerful. And what's even like cool about that is at the gates, like it says in the Bible that God inhabits the praises of his people. So I just think it's so powerful they use the analogy of the walls and the gates, because the walls, like he was saying, is a salvation. That's God's part, but the gate is our part. Yeah, it was such a timely message, and it just deeply resonated with me, so I couldn't withhold sharing that here.
Dude, yeah.
No,
I had it in my mind
like,
too. I was
wow.
like, if we talk about hardship or like going through heartbreak in any way, that has to be something that they have to hear, that they have to hold with them.
Oh, yeah.
And I encourage you guys to go actually look at that for yourselves, is where the gates, and it says that the Lord dwells in our sacrificial praise the most. Like that's where he loves to dwell the most. So that was awesome. And we talked about heartbreak actually too. And so my cousin actually he sent me a video the other day, and it was like, it's the hardest time to praise the Lord and to think, oh, Lord, you're still going to be good whenever things aren't going right. Like that's the hardest thing to do, is in the midst of suffering, in the midst of heartbreak. It's the hardest time to give the Lord praise, but that's when he values it the most, is whenever it's in those hard times. And I actually had we went to breakfast this morning, and the pastor talked about how we're always going to withdraw. Like from a situation, we're always going to withdraw. But what are we going to withdraw to? Are we going to withdraw to pray? Because the Lord, whenever Jesus went away, he went away and he prayed. He didn't go away and, go out with a whole bunch of different people. Like whenever we withdraw, like what are we going to do with that? Like, are we going to go to parties? Are we going to go to our closet and watch stuff that we shouldn't be watching? Like, are we going to go drink? Are we going to go smoke? Like, what are we going to withdraw to? We're all going to get that same opportunity to withdraw, but what are we going to withdraw to?
Wow.
So I thought that was pretty awesome too.
Yeah. Those I believe are the most significant parts. It's not what we do at the heights, because anyone can do that.
Yeah.
Anyone, it's what we do in the valleys that speak about like our character and our loyalty to God. So I think, wow, that's so powerful.
Dude, it was so
Yeah.
good. And whenever I first got saved, it was through a heartbreak. And a lot of times people have that choice, is whenever they're in the midst of heartbreak, to either follow the world's plan or follow God's plan. And for me, it really felt like the only choice that I had was to follow God's plan if I wanted to prosper, because if I followed the world's plan, it wasn't going to lead to anything. So it was really good. All right, Andrew. So we're going to kind of transition a little bit. I know we got kind of deep there, but it's always good to get, that type of conversation in, and to kind of just share like-minded approaches to things and get good substance out there. I know you're also an entrepreneur, and you like to do, just different things and experiment, right? That's a great mentality to have. And I also know that I'm pretty sure you have you do your own camera stuff and things like that. I saw you at a film class the other day. So what can you tell us about that, and like what got you into that? What inspired you? What are you doing it for?
Yeah. So if you don't know me, I'm a big movie guy, big movie buff. I'm like enthralled in like storytelling and cinematography. Like I just love, shout out Christopher Nolan. His films are fantastic, just absolutely off the charts, incredible. But what really got me into like filming and that sort of thing, it was just something that I just was like sort of inclined to. Like I saw movies, I'm like, hey, that's really cool how they did this shot or angle, how that perspective conveyed something about the story that words could not. It's like an art. So I don't know. It was like on one of the mission trips, I got a hold of a camera and I started taking pictures, and I loved it so much. And then videos, oh, dude, don't even get me started. It's right up my wheelhouse. So, it's just something that's fun and creative, because I suck at drawing art. So if there's any other way I could like make art without, drawing, like video and pictures, that's what I love doing. It just became a passion in me. And my goal for it, I want to learn here at ORU how to master the camera. My goal is to use it at my parents' ministry and get what we're doing more exposed, because a lot of people don't know how many people in the world are unreached and don't know the gospel. So just getting that exposed and more out there on media, and then also, sharing the notable miracles we see overseas, like that'll radically change America in itself and bring revival there, because we need revival there.
Dude,
so
that's awesome. I love it. We'll drop your descriptions down, so whenever you get that up and running, they can definitely go check into that and see what you guys are doing over there with your missions and everything like that. It's powerful to hear. So that's awesome, dude. Are there any other projects that you're working on, or maybe you want to get into, and something that you'd like to share?
Projects that I'm working on currently, I'm not working on any video project per se right now, but I'm still having my wheels turning, because junior year, that's when the big like brainstorming phase where we make a movie or a short film for ORU. So I'm already thinking ahead to junior year for that. I want to make something very compelling with like, great characters that just draw you in, and something that just invites, people of the world into like Jesus, and not in a weird religious way with spiritual jargon, but stuff they understand, like, wow, I want to know more about this Jesus. So yeah, I'm already thinking about that.
Dude, that's awesome. And maybe you could do something with like sports, and maybe you're going to do something with like sports and how you reach people. That's cool.
That would be epic.
That's awesome. And so we're kind of avoiding the sports topic, but we know that you're Gatorade Player of the Year. You're pretty legit yourself. So
appreciate it.
And you have multiple state championships, right? It's no small feat to even get one. Man, I tried to get me one. I couldn't. So what can you tell us about like just experiencing that, and like what was one of your most memorable moments, and like while you're doing in winning so much, like what, how does that all feel? Like how do you just juggle all that?
It is the best privilege I've ever gotten from God. There's a verse that comes to mind. I believe it's in like uh, it's either First Samuel or Second Samuel 25, and it says that God honors those who honor Him. And uh, in my running career, I that's like a testament to that verse because traveling overseas and just pouring myself out for the nations, I can see how God has given back to me in what my desires are in running and like achieving great accomplishments and feats. So I'd say the biggest moment, the most like memorable,
Yeah.
was my senior year. Before this, freshman year, out the gates, I was already blazing on
Yeah.
the course, and I placed honorably. Sophomore year, I placed third in cross country. Junior year, second. So it's like
Dang.
stair
So
step,
yeah.
up, up. And then senior year, I'm like, this is the year.
This is the year.
It's all or nothing. And it was the most beautiful, like picturesque thing ever. It was like slow-mo running across the finish line. And it's that feeling of like, you're just floating.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing. And you're like right there at the finish line. It's one of the like, it's euphoric. I don't even know.
That's
It was
awesome,
amazing.
bro.
And I got first and I won by over like 40 seconds. So
Wow.
really dominant performance. But it was just like a thing that have been building from middle school and then from freshman
Yeah.
year up the totem pole and finally winning first place in cross country. That was a huge like mile marker
Yeah.
for me.
Bro, that's awesome. How would you say those victories and all that success, like how would you say that shaped you? Often, a lot of times people say that we're shaped by our failure, and that's true. But how would you say that those victories like helped shape you?
I would say those victories have given me boosts of confidence because when I was younger, I wasn't that confident. So to that end, it's definitely helped improve my confidence. But I would also say is it helped me learn how to keep my ego and pride in check in a way, because when you go from victory to victory and height to height, you just want to soar. And then you get in the place of, like subconsciously you think, oh, I can do this on my own strength without God. And you put God at the back burners. And that's when, pride before fall, and you plummet. So in my winning streak, I've always tried to remain focused on like abiding in God and remaining in that place of humility where I'm like, I cannot do this without you. I cannot whatsoever. And each time I do that, He just gives me more strength and exceeds my expectations of what I think I can do in my own ability. And that's why I believe I've been able to be privileged to win so many races and help our school win so many titles.
That's awesome, bro.
So
That is really cool, man. Well, congratulations to you for doing that. Keep doing great things at ORU.
Yes, sir.
I kind of want to. So as we wrap this up, I want to end all my episodes with like a very special question to you, but also like really interesting to where we can get the audience thinking a little bit. I said this last time. I kind of wanted to get to a similar question in my first episode, but I didn't really get the chance to because he asked me the question. It was a really good question, by the way. But so we talk about God and we talk about how He's good, right? But whenever we talk about the absence of good, we talk about evil, right? And there's evil, right? So whenever there's good, there's evil. And, you do a lot of great things with your mission works and stuff. And if I want to ask this in the most respectful way, like if you don't mind sharing like a situation where you were faced with something and in a situation where you were like on a mission trip, even if it wasn't on a mission trip, where you were like, okay, like I see evil, like this is why we need God. You know what I mean? Like, you go on missions around the world and you're faced with like, real life stuff and people who don't see stuff the way we are, or even like you see like demonic things. Like, is there an instance where you saw something or you experienced something that was like, okay, like I need God and I need to make sure that I stay on the right path because there's evil out there and this is crazy stuff?
No, yeah, for sure. I would say like on our mission trips, I haven't seen like outright just like evil like what you'd see like in a movie
Yeah.
or whatever, but I know my dad has had encounters, and we have video footage of it, and it's on our website globaladventures.tv. So if you want to see it, just go there.
Might have to tune in too.
Yeah, he's went to very remote places where there were witch doctors, and he's, encountered them, come face to face, told them about the gospel. They have done some weird junk, man.
Dude.
Like one of them ate a piece of like charcoal from the fire, and they're like just gnawing on it, like, and they were like fidgeting and doing this weird stuff. Like there were like demons like possessing this witch doctor, and my dad went to go confront him, share the gospel, and cast him out. And so there's definitely been some crazy, just wild instances that my dad has come across. And then also, I know you don't see it because it's not out in the open.
Yeah.
But human trafficking, it's
Yeah.
so pervasive. It's happening like right before us, and we don't even know it.
Yeah.
And there's that one movie that came out, The Sound of Freedom.
Yeah.
That brought that to light. And I, like, before I hadn't realized how bad it has infiltrated this world.
Yeah.
Like it's just sickening.
Yeah.
Like, oh, gut wrenching.
Yeah.
And it made me realize there's more evil than we know, And it says in the Bible that like the world's going to get worse, obviously, and that God will even give them over to like a reprobate mind where people choose their own way, and God's like, you know what? You can have your own way, but it's like going to cost you. And they have a reprobate mind where it's very like they just do such heinous, evil acts, diabolical things that like make me like shudder.
Yeah.
But there's always like a hope for redemption. There's always a way back, even though like they may be steeped in it or whatever, whatever traumatized them or brought them to that point of enacting that evil on someone else. There's always a way to, cut right to the soul of them and save them. I believe anyone can be changed from the inside out.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not sure if I answered your question
that
or
was great.
not.
That was great. Yeah. Dude, that's great, man. I'm kind of at a loss for words. I'm not even gonna really say anything after that. That was beautiful and well told. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure the audience will appreciate that also. With that though, that brings us to the conclusion. Man, it was a great episode. I enjoyed talking to you a lot, and we'll leave his descriptions and all that stuff down below. And if you guys really liked him, we'll bring him back. We'll probably bring him back anyways, but later. So you guys better tune into that. And so yeah, thank you guys all for watching. We'll see you guys later.